But before you will sort of achieve that level 3 of having collective desires for the people, is it necessary for us to go through level 1 and level 2, and then how are we going to have this feeling of like expansion, like, and the boundaries, and not projecting our own personal limitations towards the collective? Is that?
Yeah, and the short answer is yes. Level 1 and level 2 are integrated. Okay, so it's not jumping to level 3 and thinking I know what everyone needs, and not understanding that my own priority is actually to focus on myself. So it's not a save the world mindset. It's to live from the inside out in a way that reflects, first of all, level 1, which is very realistic, and we shouldn't throw it out. We shouldn't throw out our basic desires for pleasure and joy and beauty and gratifications of some certain kinds, you know. And then level 2 is a question that says, what does it really mean to be, I could say, healthy, or to be in living in our wellness? So what does it mean to be well, to be congruent with our values in ways that allow us to feel empowered and to feel that self-acceptance, okay? And then for me, it seems like a very natural flow to say, well, I'm not projecting that on other people, but I am living with that idea that this is not a counterpoint to what is good for other people. It's actually a harmony with what it is that. So I think your question is a good one, and it raises a lot about how we navigate the societies we're in, the influences of the world around us. The place we're most responsible is for the one organism, the one being that exists through at this time and place through our being. So.
A follow-up question, Douglas. Let's say you feel already in that okayness of helping the humanity, and you have mentioned about, not in the mentality of I want to save the world, because for me personally, I got into that state where I want to save the world because I can see what are the common problem, and we were talking about ikigai also yesterday, but then and then a lot of things resurfaces, and these are the needs that I actually need to focus on and to work on, instead of going into a space where I want to save the world, I want to save people. Is there a threshold, like levels for us to meet ourselves, to provide for ourselves, to heal, to be able to help others?
It's a great question, and I'd be curious to hear what other people think too. But briefly, my answer is that when we tend to ourself, it is helping others, okay? So it's not like, I see your problem and I'm going to impose my help on you, okay? And even in the profession I'm in, people are choosing to come for that help, okay? It's not, I'm looking for who it is that needs help and I'm gonna go rescue them, or I'm gonna, it's really about the value they might see in the process that I can hold open because I'm already okay, reasonably okay. So, and I think that's a very important distinction, because I think we do realize that part of personal growth and self-development is not to exclude others, but to realize that we are part of all of this, and the best thing we can do is to tend to our own well-being. that itself is the gift we give. Okay, it's not saying who needs my help and I'm going to go, attack them with my goodness. It's more to say I have self-acceptance, and certain people are going to be drawn to that, and therefore there's a benefit to the collective in what we do. You're nodding. What's going through your mind?
To help others, you really need to help yourself to begin with, and whether that's a level of understanding or personal growth, or you're working with a therapist. Even if you're in a good place, you're still working with a therapist, so that you can understand who you are, so you can help you. You can be kind and compassionate to yourself, critical when you need to be in a positive way, and then you can help others. And the second thing is, the way I kind of look at it is, I think there are the human beings who can enact great global help and change. And I think I'm self-aware enough to know that I'm not that person. But what I try to do, and what I think makes me happy, and what I'm able to do in terms of helping others, is I think through my content, through the videos that I make, if I can improve someone's day by just 1%, not 100%, not 50%, I'm not solving their problems or fixing their life, but if I can just improve it a little bit, 1%, 2%, just make them think something differently, make them reframe something, that's good for me, that works. And then that 1% to multiple people, that's improving their life, not on a huge scale, and it's not fixing all of the problems like I just said, but it is improving their life just incrementally, just in a small way. And I think the small things over time can be really powerful. I don't think you have to drop in, sort of force the fixture, force the happiness on somebody. But if you're just helping a little bit to, whatever your means are, whatever you can do, realistically can do, and then somebody else is doing the same and they're also helping themselves, then I think that's a win. I think that's a goal. It doesn't always have to be a sort of a grand thing. It can be a small thing which really does help. And I'm kind of all right with that. I've kind of come to understand that about myself and what I actually can do to help people, And you see it sometimes. I don't know if you have the same thing with, what would you call your not clients, patients? I wonder, because sometimes I receive a message from someone. I had a video I released about a friend of mine called Dan who passed away. And he passed away really suddenly. And he was in his early 30s. And I wasn't really dealing with it very well. So eventually I did what I know how to do, which is put it into a video format and make a short film about it. I got a message out of the blue by a guy from the States, don't know him, never heard from him before, never spoke to him, complete stranger, who said that his friend had died too, and that he watched this video and it really helped him. I made that video to help me, but that video that I made to help me helped somebody else. And you get these messages from people who you don't know, doing what you're doing, or in some cases you do know them. If they're like a patient or a client or a friend or a colleague or something. And I think sometimes, the point I'm trying to get to is that sometimes we don't necessarily know the impact that we can have on other people in doing what we do. And that can be making a video, or it could be sitting in a session with someone, or it could just be having coffee or a chat with somebody, or even just coexisting with them, just being with them, and maybe not even talking about their problem, but just, there's so many ways, both grand and small, that we can help people. And I think if you're open to all of those ways, by probably just being yourself, you realize that you have a lot to give.
We give best when we're not preoccupied with our own pain and suffering. Okay, when we can get sort of beyond our own inner struggles, we then find a space. I'll add to what I think you're saying, and I think for me this is one of my most, I'll call it most profound discoveries, okay, is that when we're born, we need adults, parents, and other adults in our life to meet our needs. We're not ready. We can't go on our own. And that period of time from birth to autonomy, childhood, adolescence, and then ultimately adulthood is actually a fairly long period of time. We could say 20 years, more or less, right? And so the fact that we need means that there is that which we can do for each other. We could say it's our parents' responsibility to meet our needs. But how many of us have had parents who've known that very clearly and have been able to do that 100%? None of us, okay? So we're mostly living life with our needs partially unmet, okay? And so what we can do for each other is understand what those needs are and how it is that we can meet each other's needs, okay? I put safety as number one. The difference between being able to be together and have real conversations and real connection and real closeness is very much related to if we can feel safe with each other. Safe enough. We're never 100% safe, okay? But we can be safe enough to take the risk to be vulnerable and open and kind and caring, believing it's not gonna smack us in the face, Being safe is a very important platform for how it is we go about life. And the opposite, not being safe, means we're guarded, we're vigilant, we're neglecting our inner life because we're focused on the world around us. We have trouble trusting, okay? Not being safe is a big limitation to how it is we go about the life we have. So for me, this is always one of those primary questions. How can your example was a very good one because you, by being open and vulnerable and real, were safe enough for another person to be able to relate, to hear within themselves what it is that was represented in what you had said. So safety is number one. Okay, I won't go through all 7 of them again. We did that in episode 2 or something. But for me, I really would encourage people to think about what those things are. Okay, I will name them just because we're on the topic. So number 1 is safety. Number 2 is guidance. And there's a whole story about the structure we need and the freedom we need and the ways in which step by step through childhood we are guided safely to become learning, growing, changing people, okay? The third is self-acceptance. We've already talked about that. And we gain self-acceptance best when we've been accepted by those around us who matter the most, okay? And we struggle with it when we've been rejected or criticized or deemed unacceptable or disapproved of. The fourth one is nurturance. Now, nurturance is, in some ways, it's a subset of both guidance and acceptance. It's the encouragement and the support that allows us to feel loved and cared for no matter what. No matter what. Okay, we're nurtured to be ourself. Okay. The fifth one is what I call to be seen. Okay, and it's to be seen to our essence. Not our behavior, not our image, not our performance, but the being, the namaste, I see the divine in you, is where our essence is. And when we see each other that way, we're not focused on all the things all the mistakes people make, all the ways they're caught up in their fears and their angers and their guilts. And we see beyond that to something much more essential to who we are collectively. The next one is autonomy, and that's the goal from birth to adulthood, is to help a person claim the right and the responsibility and the freedom to be ourself, to own the decisions we make to live the life that's ours to make. Not in isolation or exclusion to the world, but in concert with the world, okay? But it's ownership of this particular human experience, okay? And the last one is play, because play is where we discover. Play is when we're not being imposed upon. You should learn this and you should learn it in this time, in this place, and pass this test. Play is when we're engaged, just like the conversation we had on Sunday with Vu, where he provides a space for children to play in ways that are unrestrained because he's created a safe environment and encouraged them to be themselves, okay? Play is that part of how we come to know ourselves. So for me, this is very important because particularly as a therapist, but also as a friend, yeah, we can be safe or not. We can nurture or not. We can accept or not. And the more we're able to do all of those things, the more we're able to provide, as you say, that kind of context for someone else's life, where they're gonna be able, like a garden, to take advantage of the nutrients in the earth, the right amounts of sun and shade, and all those things that are part of how we become our whole true self. So
You would say these things are needs?